Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the dull side of the virtual meeting, isn't it?
Well, not for you. You had a beautiful sandwich.
Eating cake. Right. I'm sure not everybody wants to carry on talking about cake. Probably do, actually. Right. Let me get head together. What are we talking about? So I'm going to hand over to Charlie, that's going to talk to us about H5P, which is the authoring tool that's been integrated into Moodle, to show us some of the easy and great things we can do about it. And then Gill is going to talk more about the design side. I'm always nervous when these new tools come on the market, and over the last 5-6 years, where there's been a lot of rapid authoring tools, as they're called. And for me, a rapid authoring tool says one thing. It says that somebody with no design experience, no graphic experience, no learning experience, no experience of anything within this field can create some really pretty content that's rubbish. And we see it time and time again. And the tools are really good at using the bells and whistles and making it look good, but does it actually work? And normally it doesn't. So what we're trying to do here is look at, okay, how do we use the tool, and then bring in Gill's expertise around design in terms of hints and tips about what we should think about when we're creating some content. And Gill, I would imagine that what you're talking about isn't specifically related to HP5, but just generally, all of the tools that are out there on the market and available for everybody to use, the principles should be the same. Yeah,
Definitely.
Fantastic. Right, what I'll do, I'll just hand over to you, Charlie. Introduce yourself and jump straight in. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Martin. Thank you. Good afternoon, all. I hope you're all doing well and you've enjoyed some of the sessions this morning. The weather isn't as good as what it was the past few days, but I'm glad that you're all here and you're not wishing you were outside. So thanks for that. So I'm Charlie. I'm a marketing executive at the CLC, and I also dabble a little bit in the tech side of things. I say dabble because I'm not at the level Josh is, who you all know, and I wouldn't want him to test me. But I know my way around H5P, so I'm excited to share that with you all today. So as Martin said, there's two of us speaking in this session, me and Gill. It's going to start off with me showing you some of the H5P contents that I've made for you on Moodle. It's just a mock-up site. And then I will show you how to demo them. I will ask you guys which one you want me to demo, so keep an eye out for the ones that you think would be of interest to you, and we'll do a poll later on in the session. And then I'll pass over to the lovely Gill, who will talk more in depth about the design of these tools, how you can integrate them into your LMS, the best way to do that, the best way to build them. I want to start off by saying that myself and Gill are also hosting a workshop together in a couple of weeks' time that focuses on the creation of these H5Ps, and we'll show you how to embed them into your LMS, which will be really good. So look forward to seeing you all there. I'm open to questions. I'd really like if you ask them, happy to answer them live as well. But what I'd really love is for you to put them in the chat. We'll collate all of those questions, and it'll give me some time to get some really good answers and bring them to that workshop session as well. So if you could do that, that would be absolutely fantastic. I've also done a H5P handout that will be available in the goodie bag at the end of the day. So definitely check that out, because it's got some really useful links that provide more information about this really good tool that I'm going to share with you today. So let's get stuck in. I'm going to share my screen with you guys and show you the site that I've created purely for this members meeting. This isn't live. Chose induction because that's something that we can all respond to. We all induct people into the organizations. So that's what I've gone with. So mock-up Moodle page. This is what H5P looks, this is what it looks like. And you may be wondering, well, what actually is it? So H5P, or HTML5 package, it can sometimes be called, is an open source collaboration framework based on JavaScript. And when I first heard that, I didn't really understand. It went over my head. So a more simpler version or explanation even is basically a plugin in Moodle that enables educators to create content such as interactive videos, quizzes, presentations, lots and lots of different things that I'll show you in a more exciting and engaging way. It's completely optional. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but I don't want you to be put off by it either, because it sounds quite techy. The more you use it, the more you'll get to grips with it and the easier it will be. So just to give you a bit of perspective on this page that I've made with multiple H5Ps here, a few there and a few there. It took me a couple of days to make this, not too long. It will probably take you guys a bit longer at the start because you're not familiar with the tool. But the thing that is the most time consuming is actually gathering the content to be able to make them. So just bear that in mind. But when you have the content, they don't take long at all. So they can be used for pretty much anything and everything. I'll show you the first one that I've created. This is it. So this is called image hotspots. You can see that there's a map here of where the CLC offices is. And if I click on it, you can see more information as a hotspot, as a pop-up. There's ones here. This is our favorite place to go to eat, the old Fleece. You can add whatever you like. You know, I've chosen to do a map of the surrounding area of the office to induct people into the area if they're not familiar with it, and show them, you know, where they can go for food or where the actual office is. But you could do anything. You could use this hotspot tool as an induction into the actual office, and you could have a photograph or a floor plan. You could even have hotspots as to where the nearest fire extinguisher is, and health and safety zones, all that sort of stuff. The possibilities are really endless with this. Something that I want to bring to you guys' attention is that this one is actually embedded. Now, what it looks like when it's not embedded is just this. And they click into it when it's on the course page, and they open it up here. It's exactly the same. The functionality is still the same, but this one is embedded. I will show you how to embed it later when I come to do the demo. Now, there's a few problems with embedding, and we don't recommend that you do it, or we don't recommend you do it frequently. If you want to embed it, you can, but there's a few things that I want to tell you about if you do that. First one is that it might not be compatible on phones. If you use this, you know, closed version where you click on it and then it opens up, that is compatible on phones. But embedding, you never know what's going to happen with the screen, especially with smaller screens as well. So definitely be mindful of that. Also, with embedded H5Ps, if there's any sort of reporting that you want done for that specific H5P, you want to see if somebody's clicked on it, answered questions on it, whatever it might be, you can't do that. The reporting doesn't sync to it if it's embedded. So that's definitely something to bear in mind as well, as you might think that somebody's opened it or hasn't opened it when they actually have, because they've seen it as an embedded format. So what I would say is to, if you want to embed, choose a H5P where those things aren't going to be an issue. And this is why I've chosen this map with hotspots. I'm not interested in seeing if anybody's clicked on it or got questions right on it, because there's nothing to really report back on that. So it's not too much of an issue. But that's definitely something that I wanted to draw your attention to. Another thing on that note is that I'm speaking more of an administrator's role here. Managers on Moodle don't have access to the reporting tools. So administrators do, but managers do not. There is an activity where I got one of the members of staff at the CLC to do and complete. I think it was this one. So let me click into this. When you click into the H5P, you'll see that there's sort of reporting at the top here. You can click on that and you can see exactly who has done it, when they did it, what score they got, and that's how you track it there. With H5P, you cannot go into site administration reporting and find all the gathered data for the H5Ps in here. It doesn't work. So that's something that you guys really need to know. If ever you did a H5P with quizzes on, for example, you have to go into the H5P like I am here, click on this, and then you can find all the data here. So what I would suggest is, if you wanted to test people or you know, get the reported feedback, do it somewhere else other than H5P, because it's a lot of time and effort to have to go into all the H5Ps and find the reporting and things like that. Maybe treat H5P as more of aesthetically pleasing information, things like that, fun and engaging things where you're not having to report things back on. I've added activity alerts here and made the instructions really bold and things like that. Jill will go into more detail about the design of them later on in the session, but make sure that you make things really clear, as there is no functionality of adding instructions to H5Ps. So accessibility and things like that isn't always the best, but you can counter that by adding a label and putting your own information above it as to what to do. You know, click on the icons to find the information, or scroll to the next slide, whatever it might be. In terms of accessibility as well, H5P as a tool has actually stated that it's not that accessible, not so much in an EDI sense, but in a technical sense. If you don't have a keyboard, or if you just have a keyboard, you don't have a mouse and things like that, it doesn't work. So that's definitely something to bear in mind as well. They have made improvements, and they actually stated that they've made 34 improvements in the last few months to tackle some of these accessibility issues, and more to come. So hopefully it will be more accessible in the future. So that's one type of H5P. Another one is timeline. It's really fun and useful, and you can really personalize it. So for example, the background, I've chosen the photo, and then I've chosen the text under each day. I've also chosen the dates. I've decided to do a timetable all about induction. So day 1, you'll be saying hello to the managers and the team, etc., etc. Relax and enjoy your first day. Day 2, mandatory training for a few days, official week 1 complete, and then you've got your monthly review. It's a really nice way to give people information, dates and events and things like that that they can refer back to if needs be, or make notes on. So that's a really nice one. We also have accordion. Essentially, it's just a drop down. So this is our CLC values. I chose this H5P to demonstrate what we value: communication, trust, determination. You could have as many drop downs as you want, or as little as you want, and you can use them in a variety of different ways. You could also do an EDI one, for example, and explain to them equality, diversity and inclusion, and how you have that in your organization. Again, drop downs. The opportunities are endless with this. Another type of H5P is called course presentation. This one I think is the most useful H5P. I've decided to do the CLC values in a course presentation, the same as the accordion, same sort of information being given, just in a different way using a different H5P. I've done what I don't want you guys to do, which is show the same information in different H5Ps. Be really clear as to, or choose wisely even, which H5Ps you use. Jill's going to talk more about that as well, but I just wanted to show you that you should just be using one H5P for the same information, not lots of different ones. Just choose the right H5P that's the right one for the information that you want to give. What you can also do is collages. I've chosen just 2 photographs in this H5P talking about working from home. So I've got video calls here, personal well-being. Collages, you can have as many photos as you like. I've just chosen 2, but you could have 5 to 10, lots of different things. Potentially this collage would have been a good one to have meet the team. And then you could have a photograph of each team member in a collage. That would be quite nice. What you could do is have their photo and then some text next to it explaining who they are, and put those in there as well. So that's quite an interesting one, and quite fun and colourful as well. Of course, bear in mind that you should be making the photos accessible, and you should be adhering to rules and regulations, appropriate images used in any of these H5Ps. we've also got another example of a course presentation here. I've chosen to do it on some testimonials. For example, I click on it. I've added YouTube videos to these. Each slide, you can either click here or you can press the arrow button and just press play. So I've pulled these through YouTube. H5P allows you to pull videos through either YouTube or Vimeo. It also gives you the option to upload directly from your computer as an MP4 file. We discourage this as it will make your page really, really slow and clunky. The best thing to do is have a video on YouTube, pull it through and put it on one of these interactive presentations. It's really useful. Something to bear in mind, however, is that if you're not the owner of the video and the video gets deleted on YouTube, it won't be available here in the H5P either. Best thing to do is use a video that you own, you have control over, and it's not private as well. So it does come through and it pulls through, and then you'll be fine. I'm going to take you back to this one again. Again, course presentation. What I've done on this one is I've added videos. I've also added text and I've added photographs as well. I've used this H5P to show the employee being inducted what the CLC is all about. I have Martin here. Sorry, Martin, I didn't tell you I'd be using your photos. With videos, text content, photos, and then I've even got a quiz in there. Both of the answers are true. They can check there. And then on the final slide, it gives them an overview as to all the answers that they've had, their total score there. They can also retry it, takes them back to the start so they can watch, listen, read, and try the quiz again. There's lots of different quiz types that can be put into this, which I'll show you later if you guys choose interactive presentation as the one you want to demo. But it's really easy, and H5P actually has instructions as you're making them as well, so you're not left totally alone. So what I'd like to do now is put a poll in the chat box. Annabelle, if you could do that for me. And if you guys vote on which ones you'd like to see me demo, so either the hotspots, which was this one, the interactive video, which I just showed you with Martin and the videos, the timeline, or the accordion dropdown. Great, we've got lots of responses. Interactive video seems to be the most popular. Okay, fab. Interactive video, I'll demo, and I feel like timeline and hotspots are also wanted. So maybe if we have time, I'll do one of those as well. Thanks, Annabelle, for that. So what we do first, well, I'm going to turn editing on. I'm going to go right to the bottom and add it at the bottom. With all H5P, it's always in the content bank on the left-hand side of the page. So if ever I want to make a H5P, this is the first place that I go to, the content bank. You can see here the list of all the H5Ps that I made and showed you all. So make sure that you title them in a way that you're going to remember what they were that you made, because sometimes you can use the same H5P, it will show you the same icon, so you could get confused as to which one is which. So just label them to jog your memory. I'm going to press add because I want to create one, and here is the list of all the different types that you can make. You don't have to learn all of them. It can be quite overwhelming to see that, but there's so many options. In the H5P handout that you'll get in the goodie bag, I've got a link there to the actual site where you can learn all of them if you wish. So interactive video, oh, not interactive video, presentation. Course presentation is the one that we're going to make. It's just loading now. This is what it looks like. anything with the asterisk, the red asterisk, you have to fill in. So I'm just going to put example here. And then you treat it exactly as you would a PowerPoint presentation. You can add text here, you can add links, photographs. Here are the quiz questions that I had. So you just click on whatever you want to add to it. There's a plus button down here. If you want to add slides, you click on it, you've got the 2 slides. Really simple. If you wanted to duplicate slides, it's here. Change the background. It's really, really simple and easy. So for example, let's click some text. Welcome to my presentation. Press done. There you go. It's on the course presentation. You can move it around, you can change the size, you can edit it, you can change the colors, whatever you want to do. If you wanted to change that, you just double click on it and then you change it here, however you want. Really simple and easy. If you wanted to add photographs, you click on image, add. They're in my, let's take one of me and Jill as it's fitting for this. There you go. Really simple and easy. Can move that to wherever I like. Obviously, this isn't the best design because I'm doing it really quickly as I'm just demoing it for you, but you can really make them really, really beautiful and easy to use, something Jill will go over later. If I wanted to add a video, I could just add a link here or a video if you wanted it in an embedded format. So I click on video. I can add YouTube here. So I'm going to go and find myself a YouTube video that I want. So let's click on the newest CLC YouTube video. I'm going to take the code and I'm just going to paste it where it says paste YouTube. This is what I'm deferring you from, which is uploading your own video files. Definitely just find them from YouTube or Vimeo. I'm going to click insert, press done, and there it is. It's so simple and easy. In the other example that I showed you guys, I stretched it out so it filled the whole space. So it looked like the whole slide was the video, but you don't have to do that if you don't want. You can add text next to it. Photographs, anything you want. It's not a problem. You can design them however you like. So I'm going to press save. And that is made. That's done. I'm going to go back to my my Moodle page. I want to add it. You're adding a H5P. That's what it is. So you're clicking on H5P. And then you want to use the content bank, which I showed you right here. You can click in this box. It will bring up the content bank here. And then you find them. This is what I was meaning by make sure you label them properly, because sometimes the icon doesn't even come up, so it can be quite confusing as to which ones you've made. But I labeled it example. I'm going to click on that one, select the file, and then just press save. Oops. Oh, I did what I said. I have to have everything titled. This should work now. There you go. It should be at the bottom of my Moodle page now. If it loads properly, hopefully it does. Yeah. So if I scroll all the way to the bottom, there it is. And that's what it looks like. Now, if you wanted to embed something, which again, please be mindful when doing that because of the issues that it has. We go back on to edit the H5P. and we go down to this settings section here. If you click on the first one, which is H5P options, you can allow the embed button, which will come up in the left-hand side of the screen. I'll show you here. Without clicking that, this button wouldn't be there. All you do is you take the code and you paste it into a label, which will look like this. I'll show you guys. So I'll add a label. Because it's code, you have to go onto the HTML code button and paste the code. And there you go. There you have it. It's quite simple. I might have to refresh my page so you can see it. There you go. And it's embedded in there. But as I said, please be careful when embedding them. It does look great on the course page, but they also look great when you click into them and you see them there. And you don't run into the same problems that you do when you click into them as you do when they're embedded. So yeah, some general rule of thumb then. H5P is more for administrator roles because they can view reporting and things like that. Definitely be careful when adding any form of content like videos, photos, make sure that they're compressed, appropriate, and have fun with it. I hope that you all give it a go and add them to your LMS because they can be really, really great. I'm going to hand over to Gill now and she's going to talk more about the design of them.
Can everyone see my screen okay?
We've got it. I've got it.
Cool. Okay. So as Charlie said, I want to kind of pick up because I think, you know, as Martin was kind of discussing, you know, I sometimes feel like the Spider-Man saying, you know, with great power comes great responsibility. You know, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should not go in with your eyes open and design it well, instructionally well. But also, I think, you know, what you've seen from Charlie is a really visually nice presentation of what you can do. And it can be a little bit overwhelming on kind of how to get to that stage. So I want to kind of give you some of the tips and tricks for making sure that you get it right. And then obviously we'll follow up that sort of thing during our workshop. My focus really is kind of instructional design, both the kind of general stuff, as Martin said, just good practice, but also how I can kind of apply that to H5P. Some of you will have heard some of the things I'm going to talk about because they are good practice, and I like to talk about good practice when it comes to instructional design. So my first point is going to be, and this is way before you start in H5P, what you need to do is identify what the goal of your module is. I think when it comes to easy to use authoring tools, it can be really tempting to just jump in and start going. So I want some things for you to do before you get into the tool that you start to think about first. So I always say when it comes to producing any kind of form of e-learning or online learning is to have a measurable goal. So what are you trying to achieve with your piece of e-learning? So focus on that goal, not on the topic. You know, if you say the word induction, you might come up with lots of different ideas to do with induction, but if you've got the wrong, you know, if you haven't got a focused goal, then you won't achieve anything. You'll just produce a piece of induction. You won't achieve the goal that you've set out to for the induction. And I'll kind of talk about that. So we use a methodology created by Kathy Moore, which I know some of you are already using. There's more information. If you just kind of Google action mapping or Kathy Moore, you can get more information on it. But the key principle for this is that you start with your goal. So work out what that's going to be. And that's, you know, that's an actionable goal. So, you know, reduce, increase, you know, it's things that actually you can check whether or not you've achieved what you needed to do. Produce an induction. Well, you're always going to succeed because it doesn't matter what you create, you created an induction. If you've got a focused goal, then that's your yardstick for making sure that you're achieving that. So Kathy's model then says, okay, once you've got your goal, you need to think about what behaviours need to change or start to meet that measurable goal. So what do people actually need to be doing or not doing or starting to do that will help you meet that measurable goal? And then what's the things that they can practice? So what can they be doing that will help them practice that behaviour, that will help them meet that measurable goal? And my favourite of all is what's the only essential information that they need to do to be able to do that. And so, you know, I think essential information is where we get to the core of good e-learning design, where we focus on only what's needed, not, well, it would be nice if they knew this, and, you know, I think it's important to have this. If you focus on your goal, then you can really focus on producing short modules that actually meet that goal. So that kind of leads us on to focus only on what's needed. So it's not to say that there's right and wrong content. It's just that if you've got your goal at the center, then you can focus on meeting that goal. So I'm using induction as an example for this. So if you have decided that your induction, and it might be that you've got multiple courses, but if you've got a course that you decide, right, my goal is to make people feel welcome. Well, what that looks like is much softer and probably doesn't include the history of the organisation, because that isn't about the person. That's not about it making them feel welcome. That's not to say that you can't have an induction, which is an overview of the organisation. But if you've got the goal of ensuring people feel welcome, then you can take that out of your equation. So then you focus on the things that will make them feel welcome. So I'm just using that example because, you know, it's one that we can kind of all, you know, align with because we understand induction. So your goal will give you the focus you need so that you can make sure, okay, what content do I need? Okay, what content do I not need? What can I push back on for this particular solution? So my next thing then is to, you know, once we've kind of got that, still before we get into starting to build things, we need to be thinking about designing the course. And 100% I will always say that you design outside of the program. If you start jumping in, then you get excited and carried away. And I've done an accordion and I've got a quiz no, you should be led by the design of the course. Now, we always design on whiteboards or paper, and it's a very kind of visceral, you know, it's a touching experience where we will be drawing things. And it kind of leads on from Tom's recommendation this morning when he was talking about storyboarding your video first. That doesn't mean beautiful drawings of, you know, people and situations. It's just, you know, if you can draw a circle and put legs and arms on it, then that's a person and you know where they are on screen and you know what they're doing. So in the context of H5P, I've included this example here where we actually have postcards that we use. This is actually an example of how we design responsive e-learning in RISE. But you can see the principle. You just need to be thinking about, okay, I'm going to start with my image here. Then I've got my, you know, a text to introduce, you know, then I think we should lead on to this. And, you know, then by doing that on paper, you can kind of test it. You can kind of make sure you've got your flow right. You can make sure you've got your big picture correct. And you can really focus on, am I meeting my goal? Way before I start committing to building things, creating graphics, finding videos, you know, your focus on whether or not you're getting it right on paper first. Now, my next tip is making sure that you've got a really clear structure. And I think, you know, one of the kind of things that Charlie did within her course was, you know, she had our, you know, the big title. She was very clear with the learner about what they were doing, or, you know, in our demo, she was using kind of visual clues to help people to understand what they were doing. So although, you know, we have this kind of embed issue, and, you know, you need to be mindful of that. You know, do I embed them or do I have them as links? And obviously the majority really should be links. By breaking things up and not just making it one big list for the learner of, you know, oh, do this one, then do this one, you know, by giving them some visual guidance, by using color and icons to, you know, to give them the overview of your course, what you're going to be covering, and also the guidance that they need, you know, as they're progressing through it. My next kind of suggestion, you know, again, you know, this is true of all interactions, but I think it's particularly important with H5P, is to mix it up. I 100% think you should be making sure that your interaction matches the outcome that you want. You know, so I want to break the content down. I want to make it visually engaging. I want to make it clear that there's a hierarchy, you know, all of those things. You should match your interaction to it. But on the other hand, it's going to be far more interesting for the learner to be doing a range of different interactions, not just, you know, accordion after accordion after accordion. You know, mix it up, give a range of different interactions, but just make sure that they align to the outcome that you want from that particular interaction. The other thing I wanted to say on this, and I think it is a kind of a worry having looked at H5P, is that it has lots of options around quizzing. And you'll have seen from Charlie's demo that she's been very careful to only include them in, I think, one place. I think because it has lots of options and it's something that's, you know, easy for them to produce, there's a lot of different options that center around testing. And so what I would say is pick your quizzes and make sure they're meaningful for the learner, that they're centered on them, you know, reflecting on whether they've understood, you know, making sure that they're keeping up with the pace and that they're understanding things, and don't fall down the trap of, because there's lots of quiz interactions, that you kind of go, oh, well, I like this one and I might just use this one as well. So, you know, that kind of takes us back to the big picture design, make sure it's right, make sure you're not being driven by the tool itself. So I've kind of touched on this one when I was talking about your clear structure, but you'll have seen again from Charlie's that she was very clear in, you know, giving visual clues, but also information on what you should do. Because I don't think it's always very clear to the learner about how to interact with some of the interactions. So by giving them that guidance, then you're going to help them to make the most of what they're doing. So, you know, here's a kind of a demo that we did where we just literally built the course by just putting those interactions in, and you can see that it's really dry and unsupported versus Charlie's one where she's giving you interactions, she's telling you what's your activity, and, you know, you've got your kind of visual clues, but also your information on how to use that H5P. And I think over time people will kind of, you know, get used to them. But I think that there is some in there where it's not necessarily obvious what to do. I think an example of that was, I think there was a quiz that I did in testing. And it was really interesting because I'd got one of our developers to build a bunch of interactions for me so we could kind of see, you know, what was possible. And, you know, this is when we were learning about H5P. And he happened to be sitting next to me when I was using it. And I used it in a way he hadn't expected, because I just kind of started clicking things and then I was missing content because there was a timed element to it that I wasn't aware of. I was pressing next and it was skipping through things that were timed. And, you know, because he'd built it, it hadn't occurred to him that I wouldn't know about that timed element just because he'd built it that way. So again, you know, by giving people clear instructions, then you're going to make sure that they're not missing content that you need them to see. you know, for all e-learning, whatever you do, you know, being consistent in everything that you kind of visually provide is really important. So that's going to be anything to do with fonts, you know, no more than 2, you know, maybe a heading and a body text. Don't be kind of going crazy with your, you know, 30 different fonts because you like the look of them. You know, make sure that you're using a consistent size and a good size that's accessible for people. So no less than 12. You might even consider 14. Make sure that you're giving the instructions and the instructions are consistent. You know, don't be kind of messing about with them. If you are, you know, some of the layouts that you can use inside, try and be consistent in those, and be consistent with your colors. You know, pick a color palette and make sure that you're sticking to that. You know, obviously preferably brand, but, you know, just that's the sort of thing that, you know, elevates your e-learning if you have established your rule set and make sure that people are kind of aware. Now, people think that rules are quite often straight jackets, but the kind of approach that we take is that if you have a rule set, then you have freedom because you don't have to make your design session decisions over and over again. If you know your font and you know your size and you know where you place it, then you don't need to make that decision. So your creativity can come in other places where it's actually needed. So have a rule set, possibly break those rules where needed, but you can only break rules efficiently if you've actually got the rules in the first place. So this is one from Josh, and it goes very much to the heart of making sure that, you know, that you get the most from this new kind of option, because what the last thing we want is for your sites to then sort of slow down and stop working because you've uploaded loads and loads of images and they're, you know, very big. So it's about making sure that the image size that you use is as low as possible to get the quality you want. So in terms of how you do that, it will kind of depend on each individual situation, but we've kind of got this general guide that if you start with a really good quality image to start with, you use PNGs or JPEGs, and then you optimize it for what it needs to be. So if it needs to be a certain size, then make sure it's that size when you put it in. Don't put in a massive one and then shrink it down. Charlie, can you pop those links from Josh? So Josh has found 2 really good blog posts, articles that go into this in a lot more detail. So Charlie's popped them in the chat, and again we can kind of talk you through this in more detail. But it's really about thinking about how it's going to be used, where it's going to be used, and then making sure that you get the right size straight away, rather than, you know, popping in a really good high quality image and then just shrinking it down because you don't need it that big, and then you've still got the overhead of a large file size. So those of you who's heard my session, we're kind of really passionate about inclusion, and yes, we do understand that H5P isn't all the way there. They are making a lot of strides, as Charlie said, and they've done a lot and they're still working on it. But I want to say that that doesn't mean you don't have a responsibility. So just because it isn't ticking boxes, and it should, and I'm not going to deny that, but that doesn't mean that from your perspective, then you can just say, well, if it doesn't work, so it doesn't work. So some of the things that you should be definitely thinking about is still making sure that your colors are accessible. We use this tool here, which I can find and give you the link. Make sure that your images are still inclusive. So you're using a range of people, you're using a mirror to society, a window into society, and you're representing that back to your learners. Make sure that you're adding alt text to images, which you saw when Charlie was creating that H5P, that you can do that. Make sure that your videos have still got subtitles. Make sure that your font sizes are still big enough. So, you know, still try and strive to be doing the things that you know you should be doing. And, you know, we'll just wait for H5P then to catch up and make sure that it's it can do everything that we need it to. And then my last point really is going back to this, you know, my point about users using the module in the way that you expect them to. So with all e-learning, you should definitely be testing it and gathering feedback. And this is no different. I would recommend that you tested it in its paper form, because at that point it's much easier to make a change and improve it. But certainly when you've built it, even though the interactions are unlikely to not, you know, to be broken, I would definitely recommend that you're getting people to test them, to gather feedback. You know, that's on the basis of, you know, did it meet my needs? Is it, you know, did I understand what to do? Did I like it? But also I would encourage you to perhaps watch people use it and see the way that they interact with it, to make sure that it's working, that your instructions are working in the way that you need them to. So Charlie and I have kind of discussed, you know, what we'd like you guys to do. And what we think would be great is if we can move you into groups. Annabelle's going to do that for us. And really think about, you know, if you can share any experiences that you have of using Moodle course pages for courses. And I know that some of you are doing that. So, you know, if you've got any experience in doing that, some of the things you've learned from doing that, that would be very helpful. But perhaps, you know, reflect now you've seen H5P, whether or not that would be a benefit and you could kind of contribute by adding some of those. Perhaps have a conversation about how you might use it. I've given you 3 ideas there. So, you know, we've got the kind of short courses that Charlie's shown you, but you could use it as a supporting resource next to a SCORM package that you've got, or, you know, to do kind of post-module quizzing, not testing, but quizzing. And then, you know, potentially if you get time, then, you know, in the group, have a think about what it might look like for you to create a course and what a course might look like. And this will depend on, you know, the time that you've got, but also whether or not you've got topics you can cover. But, you know, it could be any course that you think you can create. So, you know, it might be something, or, you know, around welfare, or, you know, the induction example that we've got. So just kind of have a chat about what that might look like in practice based on, you know, what you've seen and, you know, using the kind of functionality of course pages. So I will cut and paste this into the group
chat.
Groups, yes, the group chats that get set up. Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Jill. Annabelle, could you put everyone into breakout rooms? Oh, yeah, already done. Thanks, Annabelle. And everyone's back. Perfect. Does anyone want to volunteer as to what they were talking about and their ideas of what they might use H5P for? Or if not, drop it in the chat. That would also work. Anyone? Oh, I think you're on mute, Jill. I was actually in a session with Laura Shaw, and she was talking about how photos, so like what I had or what I suggested, which was meet the team and have lots of photos or even videos, you know, hi, I'm your manager, that could work in an interactive presentation or collage. And Laura was saying that she did something similar and that was really well received, and it came across really, really friendly, and the organization just came across really approachable and welcoming. Oh yeah, Owen just said.
So I had a question from our group, Charlie, that you might know the answer. Are they like SCORM packages that you can export them and use them elsewhere? You know, somewhere else that can host H5P?
No, I don't believe you can. I don't know whether Josh is on this call, is he? Yeah, Josh, do you know the answer to that? Josh Wilcock. I don't believe you can. I don't think you can put them in other places. I mean, we were talking about having like master H5Ps that could be spread across different LMSs, but that's not available yet.
Yeah, so someone here is saying about, you know, being able to share them if they're created.
Okay, Josh messaged me and said he believes that you can.
Cool. Well, we will definitely have an answer to that when we get to the workshop, if people are interested, because I think that would be useful.
Yeah, I think as well, you can, you should be able to export them into an H5P file format, and then I guess just share that for someone to upload. So
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Owen.
Yeah, you can. So when you're in H5P, there's you can set it so that you can download it as a .h5p file and then upload it. The only issue you might have is if your H5P is not at the same version, but because we're all CLC, it will be at the same version anyway. So
Thanks, Owen.
So I think that's a benefit we hadn't even considered, that, you know, allowing people to be able to share them. That'd be great.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you've got any more questions, I think we can follow them up on in the Slack community site after. But I think we've run out of time now. So thank you all for coming, and I'll hand back to Martin, I think.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Charlie. That's great. I really enjoyed that because it completely made me realise H5P. I can never say
this conversation
Every time.
every time. For the right sort of content, it's brilliant, but don't try and use it for, you know, for not for the right sort of content, and for stuff to support content we've got already. So for supporting SCORMs and creating some resources, whether it's induction or other areas, I think it'd be really strong. So Charlie, I'd love to work with you with creating some content that's going to support the fundraising, volunteering content, the leadership. So I think there's a lot of stuff we could do there. It'd be brilliant. Right, thank you. Quick 2-minute break, jump out, and then go into the last session with Harry about boosting learner engagement. So thanks again, Jill. Thanks, Charlie. Bye.
Bye all. Bye.